You are live, Dr. Jaffe.
Welcome, everybody, to the OPAC Candidate Night Forum for 2021. This year is obviously different than even last year was. So we won't be live this year. We'll be on Zoom. And we thank you for plugging in whichever way you are and joining us. We are the Ontario Otsego Positive Action Committee, or OPAC, that sponsors this annual forum. And that's the community organization on the north side of Havre de Grace. This this forum really is being broadcast on television by Hartford Cable Network, which can be found on Comcast Channel 21, Armstrong Channel 7, and Verizon Fios Channel 31. It'll be aired just once on April 28th at 8 p.m. You can also view this on demand from the Havre de Grace City website and the Havre de Grace City YouTube channel. This year, the seats for re-election include, there are 3 seats for re-election, of course, and the incumbents running for re-election are Dave Martin, Jason Robertson, and Carolyn Zinner. 2 new, relative newcomers, I guess I should say, contesting these seats and running also for council are Tammy Shanegas and Rich Weiner, all of whom are on your screen right now. The mayoral race this year is uncontested, so we just have one candidate, and that is our mayor, Bill Martin, who is also on your screen and will be answering some questions along with the council members. Some will be directed specifically to council members, some will be directed specifically to the mayor. All questions this year have been submitted in advance because of the constraints of our format. And I'll have to tell you, there are a lot of questions that we received this year. So as moderator, I'm going to do my best to group questions together, to consolidate, to try to cover as many bases as we can. But I will not be able to get to all the questions. So I beg your indulgence there. We will do our best to cover as many of the topics that you, the citizens, raised as possible. Candidates will have 3 minutes for an opening statement this year, as well as for the closing statement, and they'll have 1 minute to answer each question. In past years, we've had 2-minute opening and closing statements, and this varies depending on how many candidates are here. So we try to manage the time efficiently. I would ask all of you candidates to be very efficient with your time. If you can finish in less than the allotted time, that is great. And that will allow us to get more information across to the citizens. There's nothing wrong with having a 30-second answer or a 1-word answer for certain questions. At the end of your allotted time, there will not be a warning bell this year, but my wife, Brenda, who is also on your screen. Brenda, say hi. We have a bit of a delay here, but there she is. So Brenda is our timekeeper, as she has been in the past, and she will demonstrate for you what you will hear when your 1 minute is up, or your 3 minutes for certain statements. Brenda, you want to ring? So that's the bell. She'll try to make it as loud as possible. And
can you hear?
So when you hear that, please stop. If you continue on, we have a new and special power this year, and it's called the mute button. So we can mute you if you do not, abide by the rules. I know all of you will. We haven't had trouble before, so please don't make us have to mute you. Now, the rotation we have discussed ahead of time for those of you tuning in. Since we're not live and sitting on a dais, the candidates are sort of listed in alphabetical order, and we're going to go through an alphabetical rotation that kind of moves starting successively with a different person each time. So everybody has a chance to be first, everybody has a chance to be last, and the playing field is as equal as we can make it. And candidates, when the candidate before you in the order completes an answer or the bell is sounded, please feel free to begin your answer. Don't wait to be called upon. Details of the questions that I will be asking are generally not vetted. I have done my best to do my own research on some of these questions, but please feel free to answer the question as you feel you can answer it best. And if there are errors in the questions, please go ahead and correct them as you see fit. And so with that, we are ready to start. The order of how you are seated, although it doesn't reflect that here, and the order in which we will start with opening statements is this: Dave Martin, Jason Robertson, Tammy Shenegas, Rich Weiner, Carolyn Zinner, Bill Martin. And then we start up at the top again. I suggest you write that down so that you know who's coming right before you. I will take the liberty of calling you all by your first names, as I always do, because this is Habit of Grace, and I'm an informal guy, and we are a close community. So I'll just put that out there, and we will start. So Dave Martin, we will start with you. You have 3 minutes or any time below that you need to make an opening statement.
Good evening. My name is David Martin. My wife and I moved to Habit of Grace in November 2012 to enjoy the quiet, historic, and scenic lifestyle. My vision for Habit of Grace is to maintain the historic charm of the city while moving into the 21st century. With the availability of COVID-19 vaccine and compliance with COVID-19 safety precautions, the city is slowly returning to a more active lifestyle. I have always been active in my community since the late 70s with scouting, coaching football, soccer, and baseball. I'm a member of the Maryland Troopers Association, FOP Lodge 76, the Habit of Grace United Methodist Church, Sons of the American Legion, Post 47, Joseph L. Davis, Assistant Director of the American Legion Riders in Habit of Grace. You may ask, what makes me qualified to be a member of the City Council? I have a diverse background, retiring from the Maryland State Police in 1992. I worked for Procter & Gamble in planning, First USA Bank as a purchasing and facilities manager, SD Lauder in planning, QC, R&D, and production management, Surface Technology as a plant manager, Home Depot Supply as a senior top shop manager, and Anchor Concrete White Marsh as a plant manager. Since being on the City Council, I've been a strong advocate for the Habit of Grace Police Department, the Ambulance Corps, and the Susquehanna Hose Company. In 2018, Habit of Grace was recognized as the 4th safest city in the nation to raise children. In 2020, Habit of Grace was ranked 12th safest city in Maryland. And in March 2021, Habit of Grace was ranked one of the best places to retire by the Bay. I have attended and graduated from the Hartford Leadership Academy class of 2016 and earned my certification from the University of Maryland Academy for Excellence in Local Government in 2018. I'm a member of the Maryland Municipal League and on the Maryland Legislative Committee, and currently on the Board of Directors for the Maryland Municipal League as Vice President, District 10, Cecil Hartford Chapter. I'm active on the following committees: the Habit of Grace Administration Committee, Strategic Initiative Review, Parks and Harbor, Marinas, Tourism Advisory Board, Public Works Committee, Water and Sewer Commission. I'm the chair working on the proposed water and sewer capital improvement programs with Tim Whitty. Ethics Commission, which Habit of Grace became the first municipality in the state of Maryland to act an ethics policy that covers both elected and appointed officials. The 3 hot topics I face facing the city: 1, representing your voices to keep our school children in Habit of Grace schools and future access to the new Habit of Grace Middle Senior School. 2, how to invest the funds of the city will receive from the American Federal Rescue Plan in infrastructure improvements for residents of Habit of Grace. And 3, improving diversity on the city boards and commissions. Thank you very much.
Hey, good evening. I guess I could just go ahead. Hey, my name is Jason Robertson. I'm currently a city council member. I have been for what's coming to the end of my 2nd term now. So I'm running for my 3rd term. I'm a Army veteran of Operation Iraqi Freedom. I hold a bachelor's degree in government and public policy from the University of Baltimore. where I'm also continuing my education with my graduate degree, master's in public administration with a concentration in public finance. I'm a budget analyst for the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Before that, I spent a little time at Baltimore City as budget analyst there, and Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services. And before then, I did a little stint in the White House, working on veteran and military resource and family resource hiring initiatives. I live here in the city of Havre de Grace with my wife and my son. He's 7 years old. At the end of this week, he'll be 8. He's a member of, student at Havre de Grace Elementary. So yeah, that school redistricting plan is at the top of my mind. I just love being involved in the community, love serving the community, love serving my country. As a council member, I chair the Budget and Finance Committee. I'm liaison to the Water Sewer Commission, liaison to the Economic Development Advisory Board. I also sit on the Planning Committee and the Admin Committee, as well as the Strategic Initiatives Resources Committee. I also am the second vice commander of the Joseph L. Davis American Legion Post number 47 here in Havre de Grace. And I am a drilling reservist, non-commissioned officer in the U.S. Reserves, currently in an instructor role. So kind of at the twilight of my military career and trying to take it easy there. So yeah, just really excited to be here, really excited to run again. There are a few things that I like to get accomplished, specifically with the Youth Commission, which I'm also the liaison for, I failed to mention. And that's about it. I'm just, happy to be here. Love this town. Love all of you. And hopefully you'll come out and support me again on May 4th.
My name is Lynch. Allow me to introduce myself as candidate for Havre de Grace City Council. As a homeowner and active volunteer in the community, I bring with me many years of experience serving the public. I have been an educator for 30 years and currently work with high school students with special needs. In the past, I volunteered 12 years with Girl Scouts, served as Author Festival liaison, Kiwanis Club member, and Key Club sponsor. My educational background includes earning a master's degree in special education from Northern University of Arizona, a bachelor's degree in English from California State University, Long Beach, and an Associates of Arts in Child Development from Orange Coast College. I currently hold several Maryland teaching certifications in special education, English for second languages, elementary education, early childhood education, and reading. Since moving to our amazing little city, I have served 2 years with the Green Team as liaison to our local food pantries, volunteered with the American Legion, the Law House, our local fest, the Susquehanna River Running Festival, and the community mural projects. In addition, I'm actively involved with Seroptimus International of Havre de Grace, which promotes scholarship funding, and have been appointed to the Arts Commission. It is with gratitude that I have found such a thriving, vibrant, and friendly community to embrace as my home. My decision to run for City Council stems from interacting with many civic-minded and environmentally conscious people. Having the opportunity to live in many communities across the nation, I am confident that I bring a multifaceted perspective towards serving the community and will be a voice for our citizens. My overall vision as your elected council member will be to provide safety for all citizens, support for community education, outdoor recreation, and cultural arts, and sustainability for the present while working towards our future. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rich Weiner, and I'm running for your city council. Compared to the rest of the candidates here, I'm a relative newcomer. Though I've lived in Hartford County since I was 17, about 36 years now. My wife and I just moved to Havre de Grace in 2018. We decided to build our last home, our forever home, in a place that we wanted to live out the remainders of our lives. We fell in love with this city, its people, and all the charm that goes along with it. I do not see my shorter time here as a negative thing, though. It brings with it a fresh perspective, a set of eyes that can see the beauty and grace that drew me here, while at the same time not being mired in things that could potentially cause your viewpoint to be skewed on certain subjects. I bring with me a long track record of experience in both financial and managerial success. I've run procurement departments for both large private sector companies, as well as several state agencies. This includes capital procurement for the State Highway Administration, where I was responsible for the complete life cycle of procurement for state vehicles and many large state service contracts. I continued this through the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services, which expanded my skills to include writing specifications and administering contracts that impacted large populations. After completing grad school, I shifted my focus towards analytics and project management in an effort to leverage my degree. I left state service and joined Caterpillar to develop a cutting-edge predictive maintenance program that they were currently developing. Though I was happy there and the work was challenging, I never stopped looking downrange. I believe this is one of my biggest strengths. I don't get complacent. I don't get comfortable. I'm always looking for the next improvement, the next challenge, and the next paradigm to break. This led me to where I am today. I work for the Department of the Army, managing projects for the Global Veterinary Medical Practice. This is a NAF agency that operates veterinary clinics, military bases around the world. We care for military animals as well as animals owned by retired and active duty military members and their families. It's not only a fun and challenging job, it is rewarding because I am totally on board with the mission. I have indeed found a home there. Which brings me back to today, home. After making a decision to move to Havre de Grace, I began looking for ways to get involved. I had never really had a hometown, and I wanted to plant roots here. Everyone and everything were so welcoming, I wanted to move beyond simply being a resident and becoming part of the mosaic that is this city. I'm deeply involved with my new neighborhood. I've been on the HOA board of directors since day one, helping to bring a brand new group of neighbors together and forming a community. And with that comes tough decisions. And you have to maintain a key eye on your fiduciary commitment that one makes when taking on that responsibility. I've often said with being on an HOA board, if everyone likes you, you're probably not doing your job properly. I take that same commitment here. You may not always like me, or you may question my thought processes, but I can assure you now that your best interests are what will drive me. I will always work towards the future of Havre de Grace. I will never sacrifice the right thing to do for a small bit of short-term popularity. My eyes are always looking forward. My mind is trying to think through the second and third order effects of every decision I make. Since moving here, I've tried running for this office before and was unsuccessful. I ran against some wonderful folks who well deserve their victory. I find myself once again running against a strong and worthy group. These are all good people, all well deserving of your vote. There are no bad candidates here. But after that attempt, I shifted my focus to other ways in which I could serve, ways to better acquaint myself with the workings of the city and to bring my skills and talents to bear for the betterment. To that end, I was appointed to serve on the Economic Development Advisory Panel.
Rich, please wrap it up if you would. Your time is over.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can everyone
Let
hear the
another
bell?
opportunity.
I need to be real clear. Rich, can you hear this bell?
I actually did not hear the bell, but I
Okay,
apologize.
Try one more
crank
time
my
and make
volume up.
sure everybody can hear, okay? Because,
Loud and clear.
okay,
sorry.
thank you, Rich, and everyone.
Rich, you'll have an opportunity to expand on that in future questions.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jaffe and Brenda, for taking on this task again. I know the citizens enjoy it and they get a lot out of submitting their questions and having you organize them in a cohesive fashion for the candidates. My name is Carolyn Zinner, and I've lived in this area between Perryville and Havre de Grace since 1993. In Perryville as a part-time resident until 2000, and we made our home in Perryville our primary residence at that time. In 2008, we moved to Havre de Grace, and this is now our permanent primary residence. I'm completing my first full term as councilwoman, having been appointed by Mayor Martin in November of 2018 and successfully defending my seat in May of 2019. And serving as your representative on council is a distinct honor and privilege which I respect and cherish for many reasons. Previous to council, I spent my entire working career in healthcare because I always wanted to help people. I believe healthcare workers are an altruistic group, similar to teachers, similar to other people in roles of service. And many forms come naturally to them in ways to serve, including myself. I began as a medical technologist with a specialty in clinical microbiology and eventually moved into clinical informatics. I saw that as a new opportunity to help my colleagues in the laboratory do their work more efficiently and effectively, improving patient care. I hung up my lab coat and traded it for a business suit and airline tickets as I flew all over the country to hospitals big and small, private and military, to implement hospital information systems. I stayed in that career for 30 years, retiring as a project manager from Christiana Care in 2018. My transition to a role in city government came with many challenges. My segue wasn't the most common way of getting into city government. So I was giving, fortunately, some great opportunities to learn. I applied and was accepted to the Harvard Leadership Academy, class of 2019. I recently completed certification requirements for the Academy of Excellence in Local Governance in partnership with Maryland Municipal League and the University of Maryland. I chair the DPW committee and serve on the Budget and Finance Committee, while also serving as your council liaison to the Arts, Historic Preservation, Independence Day, and Wages and Benefits Commission. Outside of my role as your councilwoman, I am a member of Sir Optimist International of Havre de Grace and serve on the Scholarship Committee. As your current councilwoman, I want to continue to call on these collective experiences to continue building on our many accomplishments these past several years. I believe the best is yet to come, and I look forward to continuing my role and voting for good legislation and more improvements to just continue to bring our city forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bill Martin, Mayor of City of Havre de Grace. First, I want to thank Dr. Jaffe and his awesome wife, Brenda, for doing this again. As I'm sitting here listening to the candidate speak, I can't help but think back to 2008 when I first ran for council and the OPAC forum was at the Havre de Grace Police Station. And I didn't know what Lily Run was. Never heard of it. And my wife said, "How'd you do?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "I never heard of this stream called Lily Run." I said, "Well, at least you could say you ran for council." So, it was very reminiscent. So it's been great that this goes on every year, and it's a service that the citizens I know benefit from greatly, as well as the candidates do. So I know a lot of people know me. I've been serving City of Havre de Grace since 2008, council member for 7 years, and I was elected your mayor in 2015. I'm just finishing my 6th year, third term, 6th year as mayor of City of Havre de Grace. Just quick background for those who don't know me. I'm married to an awesome wife. Her name is Taryn, who takes good care of me, keeps me straight. I got 3 great kids, an 8th grader, a 10th grader, and my oldest is in community college. And so Havre de Grace is my home. And my heart and soul is here. I raised my kids here. The community is a place I just want to live out the rest of my life and be a part of. I got to tell you, from the time I get up in the morning till the time I put my head on the pillow, I can't stop to think how awesome my city is. I'm inspired by the men and women who make up my city, whether it's the business owner, the teacher in the school, the first responders, just everyone you see on the street is just a magnificent person. I've been to 49 out of 50 states in this country, except for Hawaii. And I've never been to a place like Havre de Grace ever. The inclusiveness, the camaraderie you feel, you could just move here tomorrow and people have been born and raised all their life treat you as if you're a native. It's not a club you have to join. It's not, you're not on the outside looking in. Havre de Grace is the place I feel in my heart is what every American wants their community to be like. We want to be a part of a community. We want to be part of something great. And that's what inspires me as your mayor. And one thing everyone knows about me is I'll lay it to you straight. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm just going to tell you how it is. Sometimes it's good news. Sometimes it's things we have to work around a little bit, like water and sewer issues. I'm sure that'll come up tonight. But why do I want you to check off my box? Because when you walk into that voting booth, it'll say Mayor Bill Martin, and it'll be a little box. And I'm going to ask you, please check that box off. It means a lot to me. And I'm going to tell you why. Because with me, you're going to get my honesty, you're going to get my judgment, and you'll get my integrity. And those are one thing that you'll always have every minute that I'm the mayor of the city of Havre de Grace. I'll lay it to you straight. And one thing I believe in is keep moving the city forward, because if you're not leading, then you're following. And I believe that this city is going to succeed. We need to be leaders. So I look forward to the candidate forum here, Dr. Jaffe and Brenda, and my fellow council candidates. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Bill and candidates. We're going to start now with questions. I've just been going through and consolidating, and I'll let you know, I have at least 17 excellent questions that people have sent in here. There is no way we can cover 17 questions, if we all take 1 minute going along. Now, you all get your 1 minute for every question, and we're not going to deprive you. But I'm just letting you know, I'm putting it out there, that I've got lots of material here. I would love to get through as much of this as possible. So please, if you can finish an answer in less than your minute allotted, do so. And whoever's following you in the order, be ready to jump right in. So with that, we're going to start. And Jason, you are leading off this round, as it were. And the first question pertains to our hospital. What are your thoughts on the hospital conversion? What do you think should be done with the hospital building and land once it's vacated?
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Jaffe. So I know that most recently, well, not most recently, it's been almost 5 years now, the Cushman and Wakefield study was done for Upper Chesapeake. That was done by Upper Chesapeake to see what the best use of that facility would be. In my mind, something that's mixed use, retail and residential would make sense. That's 9 acres of downtown land. I could easily see that being tastefully redeveloped back into the general architecture and feel of the downtown area. But I know that that's an incredible expense. And, the demolition alone and the building costs, I think, are upwards of $25 million. The state legislature did put in a bond bill for an economic impact study to see what, from the city's perspective, could be done in the downtown area. In my mind, the best use of that facility is something that would be akin to what it's already set up for. So aging in place, elder care, something along those lines would make sense. Probably wouldn't take a lot of redevelopment to, get that building back in shape for that intended use. I think I heard the bell, so.
Tammy? Oh.
Tammy, you can jump in now. It's your turn. And if we don't hear from Tammy in a minute, Rich, you jump in and we'll circle around to her. I know she's having some connectivity issues.
I understand that they are willing to work. In my mind, I want to utilize a growing population of young families coming in, older generations that are already here, and then, families that have been here a good long time. So I would love to see the facility and the structure that it is right now remodeled, and the rooms used to service our community. Thank you.
Yes, because the infrastructure already exists for a medical facility. I see a senior care, perhaps a live-in, a resident senior care facility going there with some ancillary medical offices attached to it. I see that as the best use of that property as it stands currently.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thanks for your brevity, all.
Thank you. Well, let me just tell you, it still breaks my heart that the hospital is leaving. And I do believe with the population that we have, we will someday have an acute care facility, but it'll probably be in Aberdeen. As far as the existing building, the other disappointment is that we were promised a look at the Whitfield-Churchill study, and we haven't seen it. And that's really a valuable tool for the city, because we don't know what we don't know about that building in terms of how we have to step up and make it apply to today's codes. So what would that cost a developer to come in? When I was active in this issue a while back, we went to the Hartford Community College thinking possibly they could use that space for labs, some type of education, maybe an annex to an evening school, something like that. And I think maybe that's a possibility, but without knowing the viability of the building in terms of reuse, I think it's hard to say what would be the best use. The tower has been, we were told, was one of the strongest there is. So I think any use of that tower building would be advantageous.
Yes, as far as the hospital ground goes, I think Carolyn and Jason had really good responses. It's pretty much, you got 9 acres of land there. You got a really strong building as far as the bones of the building. It's got a new roof. The building remains intact. It'll probably be most likely be, probably assisted living along those lines. But talking to David Baird back in the fall with the marketing company, there's a possibility it could be torn down and made into, the building could be torn down and possibly put up several series of like some townhomes that would architecturally fit into the neighborhood. What you don't want to see is very high density residential, because that, I think, parking issues would be a problem, as well as, probably, like I said, again, multi-apartment dwellings, high density probably would not be the best use of that area. But anything from, townhomes to assisted living to commercial development, something that'll help the economic engine of our city. So there are zoning laws that kind of encompass that would pretty much guide it along those lines.
The city currently doesn't own the property. The University of Maryland does, and will make the determination as to whom they sell the property. The city can assist with zoning and planning requirements. At this time, the university has not informed the city of their future plans, nor requested the city's assistance with zoning or planning. There have been many voices raised for a hotel conference center at the existing site. Requirements could be put in place to ensure the new building meets the architectural design to match the historic look of the surrounding area. How the community changes with the adjustment from COVID-19 pandemic will be a driving force on future development plans. Large spaces or small areas with great wide accessibility. The Kentlands in Montgomery County is an example of mixed-use development. Lodge Lane is already zoned residential commercial. For millennials, the property could be used for mixed use. The commercial ground level could consist of daycare, lunch dinner establishments, after-school venues. Or for an age-restricted 55-plus development, geriatric medical offices, pharmacy, juice bars, and learning centers. The upper levels would be residential units. And as far as the hotel convention center in Havre de Grace, there are 2 parcels that need to be combined for namesake hotel chains to decide to develop in Havre de Grace. The namesake hotels want to remain close to APG and the government per diem. Thank you.
Thank you all. Tammy, you will start this next round. And the next question again is for all candidates. And it's regarding our historic downtown. Why don't city leaders bring in more commerce downtown? What can city government do to encourage small businesses to move to or set up shop in Havre de Grace?
In regards to our historic downtown, the buildings that are there now that exist, small businesses, they are doing well in spite of the pandemic. Why don't we bring down more businesses into the community? I believe that we have to make room for other types of opportunities. There's definitely revenue in the town now with downtown historic opportunities. There's a lot of land for sale, and I just think it comes to listening to the citizens. What is it that we need? What do we want? Keeping it small and historic is very important to our community. If we bring in big box buildings, et cetera, it'll take away from that. It will help with tourism, but it will take away from the small community atmosphere. So I'm thinking that listening and knowing what our community needs and wants is a great way to start.
I believe as far as bringing in new small businesses, most small businesses are currently in a state of recovery right now. What the local government can do is make it advantageous for people to choose Haverty Grace over other small Main Street types of towns. I do believe they do a really good job from what I've seen from the EDAC in doing that. I guess my answer to that would be keep doing what we're doing and maybe do it a little bit more. And as the economy starts to lift itself out and these small businesses start looking to open or to perhaps enlarge, try to attract them to our main street without, as was stated before, bringing in a lot of large big box or chain type of stores that would disrupt the historic atmosphere that we currently know and love.
I agree with partially what Richard said, and I'm not sure I'm connecting the full intent of the question in terms of historic preservation. I'm on the Historic Preservation Commission, and I firmly believe that history sells, that historic preservation is an economic shot in the arm to our local government. But I also feel that there are many businesses in Haverty Grace that are maybe invisible. And by that, what I mean is they don't have typical storefronts. Their business is not retail. So people may think that we don't have a thriving business community, but yet we do. And many of our businesses have survived the COVID situation because they've changed their business model and they were able to adapt to really negative circumstances, but managed as far as the restaurants to have a grab and go model, to offer more online way of getting goods and services. So I think that we're very fortunate in the way our businesses have stepped up and been able to stay in business, and also that our Historic Preservation Commission is so strong in advocating for history as being an economic driver within the city. Thank you.
Okay, 1 minute, huh? All right. So, sometimes there's a discrepancy between what people think is a vacant store versus what they want to see downtown. In the last 5 years, we have almost a zero vacancy downtown. Almost every shop storefront has been rented downtown. Of course, you get all people come up to me and say, well, what this town needs? We need this, we need that. Well, here's what we're going to do. I was 5 years old the first time my parents took me to Ocean City, and it didn't take me long to be on the boardwalk to realize why a boardwalk on Monopoly board is worth all the money. This is where people want to be. And that's always been a goal of this administration, is to make Haverty Grace the place where people want to be. It's happening in Haverty Grace. I mean, whether it's, the arts and entertainment district that we're getting really well known for right now, for our uplighting, our events, and our murals, the electric trolley that's going to come online June or July of this year to bring people around through our city. There's a lot of things going on in the city of Haverty Grace. The economic pressures of outside will place the businesses in our city, especially the ones that you want to see. The history is going to take care of itself. The economy will take care of itself. I mean, that's how we're working on solving this problem. So economic development has always been a key priority with me. We have a great, excellent economic development department with Erica Quisenberry and an economic development advisory board.
Okay, the current occupancy rate, so I'm going to confirm what Bill had said, for downtown areas at 98%. When you look, many of the city leaders do work to bring commerce to Haverty Grace. Some lead by example, volunteering their time at community events. They will be meeting citizens, businesses, and individuals to discuss and address their concerns. The city does have an economic development director who is actively engaged in recruiting, promoting, and maintaining businesses in Havre de Grace. She has spent numerous hours locating and assisting with grants and loans to businesses during this COVID-19 pandemic. The city has a tourism advisory board and economic development board. I have participated locally in the Burns Night event in January to help bring businesses to local bed and breakfast, hotels, local shops, restaurants, theaters, even pop-up shops. I, with a group of other citizens, will be traveling to Grandfather Mountain this summer in North Carolina to meet with vendors and discover additional activities that may be added to this event. Just so you know, all the people going on this trip are local community activists, and they're doing this and spending their own money to do it. Thank you.
Yeah, you ask what the government can be doing to attract more small businesses, and I think it's doing it. We've created an environment where people want to be. They want to move here. They want to live here. And the more people that live here, the more customer base that you have, the more businesses to service those people you'll also gain. So over the last 4 years, we've had a net gain of just under 30 new businesses in Havre de Grace. And as Councilwoman Zinner was alluding to, not all of those are those downtown retail shops. We've had several tech groups come into town, office spaces are being rented out, all of that good stuff, the stuff that the public probably doesn't see. Even several of the vacant storefronts that are on Washington and St. John right now are undergoing redevelopment for new folks coming in. And, anytime that you see local chains like Abbey Burger wanting to establish here in Havre de Grace, they have Baltimore, they have Ocean City, and now they'll have Havre de Grace. Brook Bend just set up here this past year during the pandemic. New businesses opened during the pandemic in this town. That's their third location. They picked Havre de Grace. So, I think that the government's doing it. I've never experienced an issue with discrepancy between a proposed business wanting to come to town and the council or the administration being opposed to that business and really fighting them. We've helped with lease agreements. We've helped with zoning issues. That's part of the reason why the new brewery, the brew pub, is coming into town. I hear the bell. I'm sorry. I get excited about it. I'm one EDAB, and we talk about this stuff all the time.
Well, you ended on the brew pub, and I'm just thinking about the brew pub as you were talking there, Jason. Can't wait for that to start too. Everybody's doing an excellent job with muting and unmuting. Thank you. We can cover a lot of ground here. So this is the third question, and Rich, we're starting with you in this one. As part of the American Rescue Plan Act, the city is set to receive $11.7 million in direct payments from the federal government, as some of you have already mentioned. What do you think is the best use for these funds and why?
Obviously, what's on the front of everybody's mind would be try to find ways to work that into the water and sewer infrastructure and to offset some of those costs. It would also be nice to see some of the parks and outdoor recreational areas perhaps have some amenities added to them. I'm thinking primarily outdoor chessboards and perhaps a sand volleyball pit. But anything that can be done for the infrastructure that would be able to maintain the avoiding increasing fees, taxes, or any other additional rates in the future are going to be solid investments with that money.
Okay. So again, I'll agree with Rich, and we discussed this significantly often in the DPW meetings that we have. What we're looking at right now is moving up some of our projects. We had stopped a lot of our capital projects during COVID-19 simply because we weren't sure what kind of a financial situation the city would be in, what the impact would be. So now we want to take some of those projects and use some of this money to move those projects up. The other thing we need to consider is the availability of resources. because other cities are going to be doing the same thing. So if we've already completed our engineering and our design, we have an opportunity here to basically have shovel-ready projects that can be done to make the water and sewer issues more palatable in terms of getting the work done and moving forward. The other thing I would like to see, one of the things that Cushman Wakefield said when they were holding task forces and talking to citizens was that our gateway was not attractive. I would like to see something in terms of our gateway along Superior Street and then coming off of Route 40 at Route 7. So, and I wish there's a way we could get do things that give us a lot of bang for the buck. So if we can have beautification projects that really enhance the gateway or the experience for not terribly expensive sums of money, I'd like to see that.
So yeah, roughly $11.7 million. So the thought process at the moment from this administration, of course, whatever we put together like a la carte buffet for the council, they'll have to ultimately chew up and approve. But the thought process is the lion's share of the money going to water and sewer. I've gone to the citizens in 2016 for a $2.5 million bond bill. We went to the citizens last year in 2020 for a $15 million bond bill. It'd be completely disingenuous if all of a sudden we say, you know, what water and sewer? No, so yeah, the water and sewer is the biggest issue we're facing right now. But the good news is, if you just put a good significant chunk of that money into water and sewer, that will alleviate pressure on Fund 1. So it doesn't have to keep loaning money to water and sewer. So you can take care of the things that municipal government needs to do. You can take care of your sidewalks. You can take care of your paving. I want to pull back a little bit of money, and hopefully council sees the same way, a few $1 million, and maybe do something big, something that normally wouldn't have the political will to accomplish. It was, you know, we have a million, probably $1.5 million needs to go into the auditorium to turn it into high school auditorium, to turn it into a world-class performing arts center, or, you know, a transient pier at the end of Green Street, or like Carolyn said, a gateway to the city. These are all on the table. So the lion's share is going to go to water and sewer, alleviate Fund 1, hold back a little bit of money, and probably do something great to put us in the next stratosphere. Keep Havre de Grace just as awesome as it always is. Thank you.
I'm going to echo a lot of the same comments. The water and sewer reduction, using funds to help create downward pressure on the rates. As Carolyn said, adding additional capital projects from future budget years that were to be funded by the bond money. Examples are Graceview, Lapidus, and Bully Rock water towers. They need to be replaced or refurbished. Water main replacement for Graceview, Wilson and Green Street, and Old Bay Lane. The Auditorium and Gym, depending on the results of the feasibility study, money should be allocated to remodel the auditorium, sound system, seating, and lighting, and refurbish the gym. The city would need to add an event manager similar to what the Opera House has, as the city is not staffed to manage an event facility. A Century Park to replace McElhaney Park. The cost for that is about $250,000. Century stimulation benefits seniors in need of memory support. Many older persons with advanced dementia can improve their communications and connections with those around them by using therapeutic techniques known as multi-sensory stimulation. The use of sensory play can assist children with touch, smell, and playing with the texture in an environment with little expectation. As a child develops trust and understanding of textures, it helps build positive pathways in the brain. Agreed. Transient pier at Green Street for boaters would bring in more people. And I would like to see a skateboard park added to either North Park or Todd Park. The cost is about $40 a square foot, but there is grant funding available for that as well.
Yeah, I have to echo a lot of the comments that you've heard, especially the mayor's. You know, the Fund 9 has about $24 million, $25 million total in capital projects that could be executed, or that need to be executed. We withdrew that $15 million bond with the hopes that an operating cost savings and with the capital cost recovery fee, we'd be able to service the debt and save for future capital and infrastructure needs. So in my mind, this is a great windfall. I would like to see about $10 million go directly to Fund 9. We have just over $9 million in projects that are ready to go, alluding to Councilwoman Zinner's comment on the execution and how quickly we'll need to come out of the gate to spend this money. It's a three-year appropriation, so the funding expires 3 years after we receive it, which doesn't really leave you a lot of time to spend over $11.7 million, 9 million to 10 million in Fund 9. I'd like to see, the auditorium get redone as well. I'd also like to follow up with where we are with the Stadium Authority on that project. I know that there have been talks with the Stadium Authority for that project. And in my mind, the Fund 9 comes first, the auditorium comes second, and then we can discuss anything else. But with Fund 9, I would also like to see, I'd like to see us offset some of the debt encumbrances with this new capital funding.
Tammy, you're muted.
Happy Grace will receive is to continue the work that has begun with the infrastructure of the water and sewer lines. This will benefit our city for years to come and have a direct impact on lowering water and sewer rates. In addition, funding should also be provided for economic development to provide revenue for businesses. Funding should also go towards maintenance, beautification, and safety of our communities. This will encourage the longevity of our residents and keep the values of our homes secure. Thank you.
Thank you all. To dovetail on Mayor Bill's anecdote about his answer to Lily Run way back when, last year was the first candidate forum where there was no question about Lily Run, which is a credit to the city's handling of that situation. Hearing these answers, I have to say that this may be the first forum where I don't ask a question about Fund 9. They're here, but I'm going to kind of put it down to the bottom of the stack because obviously, it's well contained within the answers that you have all just provided. So the next question is just for the two non-incumbents. We'll start with, we'll just go in order. So Tammy first and then Rich. And this is the question. What positive steps do you think the city has taken in the last year? What would you have done differently?
Has taken in this last year is to absolutely keep our city thriving in the face of a pandemic. They have supported our local businesses to help them come up with plans to keep them alive and to keep opportunities to have events, even whether they're virtual or just people can do takeout and just get involved and be a part of the community. What I would have done different, I think, is, maybe involve people at a greater capacity to get as volunteers. A lot of people were afraid to be out. We had the social distance. We couldn't get out and about, but there is a lot of outdoor opportunities for people to get involved so that we could keep the community connected and not feel so afraid to be apart from each other. Social distancing and everything alike. I really think going forward, our city is doing a great job and we're starting to open up. And I look forward to being a part of everything that's happening. Thank you.
I want to expand a little bit on what Tammy just said. I think the city did an amazing job working with private businesses, making things available to them, giving them exceptions for operations, allowing some interesting parking situations and seating situations that allowed in a lot of cases for them to not only survive, but to actually thrive to the point where they're going to come out of the other side of this pandemic in extremely good shape. Also, I was actually last night's council meeting listening to the Cat Club deliver a little presentation, and was marveling at the young volunteers talking about how they got into Cat Club for the ability to get out of the house and do things. And I'm not saying that the city missed the boat, but I'm saying that there might have been some more opportunities to provide programs like that for kids that were otherwise sequestered in their house and looking for an outlet and ways to be out there and are willing to do some volunteer work as a result of that. Hats off to the Cat Club on that. Like I said, if I had to change anything, it might have been to, further explore opportunities to make that sort of thing happen. But otherwise, I think the city has done great work through a very difficult time working with its small business owners and its residents. Thanks.
Thank you. This next question is directed to the mayoral candidates, which is you, Bill. How can the average citizen who does not have time to attend council meetings inquire as to the status of citywide projects, for example, paving, water, sewer, etc.?
Thank you very much for the question, Dr. Jaffe. Well, one of the things, that's a great question, because one of the biggest struggles we have is always, how do we communicate with the citizens? You can't always count on a newspaper. You can't always count that they'll be able to tune into a meeting. You can't always, count on the fact they have social media. But hopefully in this day and age in 2021, most citizens have access to an internet. And so we have a really good website. We just got a whole brand new website created a couple of years ago. And you go to the Havre de Grace City website, and you go under the departments, havredegracemd.com. Departments, go under DPW, Department of Public Works. We have an interactive map of all the projects we're working on. Remember that $15 million bond bill that citizens approved last February of 2020? All the projects that have been completed are currently being worked on and been proposed, and all the status updates. Just move your cursor around the city, and maybe we're doing something on your street. Even if it's not part of Fund 9, we have a really good interactive map, even if we have paving schedule for your street. A lot of people don't know this. We say it a lot at meetings and things like that, but if you're listening to this meeting tonight, that's one way you can definitely tell what we are doing for you as a taxpayer in the city of Havre de Grace. It's a great interactive map.
Thank you. Okay, this is for all candidates, and we're picking up, starting with Carolyn. And this question came in before all the breaking news of today, I should add. What has the Havre de Grace Police Department done since the George Floyd murder to reform policing practices in Havre de Grace? What else should be done to spot potentially risky behaviors within our police department and to take preventative action to reduce instances of police misconduct?
Well, I think that's a really very general question. Our chief is extremely well respected among the citizens and among her charges in the police department. She's right at the top of her game in terms of training, and we spend quite a lot of time interviewing for potential police officers. We seem to always have a rotating vacancy. Someone retires and it takes some time to fill a position. Maybe somebody will move into the position where the person retired, but we still need a police officer. And I feel that we've been very fortunate with the police department that we have and the type of policing that they do. We've early on had school resource officers, and those school resource officers build a relationship with the children that they serve in the elementary schools, the middle schools, and the high schools. And when those young people come back into the city and they see those school resource officers, they really want to talk to them and see them. So, I mean, I think, you have to look at that there could be some bias, but I've not seen it. And of course, I'm not in that same situation in terms of race and gender and traffic stops and things like that. But I have to say that I'm very comfortable with our police department. I feel we have a very safe community and a very inclusive community.
Mayor Bill, you're next in the.
Thank you. Sorry about that. It starts with the mayor, and then it goes down to the chief of police. I got an excellent chief of police, Teresa Walter. She's very well recognized in the state of Maryland. She's been the president of Maryland's Chief Association several times. And she understands, we have a great relationship, the chief and I, and she understands I expect nothing but professionalism from all City Hall employees, especially my police officers. I can tell you that the chief is very, very selective when she hires an officer. She hires nothing but the best, even in the times we're in now where it's tough to recruit new recruits, and especially with the municipal budget, we can't always pay what the bigger agencies pay. What attracts officers to our city is the community and the reputation of our department. I've been very lucky, knock on wood, since I've been mayor, we haven't had any incidences of police abuse or brutality. And I don't expect to, because the chief is very professional and our officers are very professional. And, there's also a fine line when you have a good, professionally trained officer, you have two outcomes. The citizens are going to respect the officers, they're going to feel part of the community, and they're going to be treated with respect. And at the same time, the officer is going to go home to his family at night, his or her family. So that's what it means to be a professional police officer. So we will continue our good practices that we have in place already. And again, I thank our men and women in uniform for City of Havertide Grace, because they keep us one of the safest cities in the state of Maryland.
The chief of police, along with guidance from the administration, has implemented an auxiliary police force. COVID-19 put a stop to her ability to actually add a cadet program. The cadet program would have been able to recruit 18 to 21-year-old young adults from this community. So we would actually be growing our own police officers. They would be familiar with the diversity and the issues within the city to start with. The City of Havertide Grace and the police department have many avenues for citizens to file a complaint and are ready to investigate and take the administrative as well as prosecutorial actions that are required. The Havertide Grace Police Department has been identified as having one of the best use of force policies in existence. It has been reviewed by the NAACP, the Caucus for African American Leaders, and Together We Will, an LGBTQ organization. The Havertide Grace Police Department is planning on launching a community survey in hopes of receiving feedback that will allow them to enhance their community presence and understanding.
Yeah, once again, I can't speak more highly of the chief that we have. She has really fostered, and this is inherent to our cops already, but she's really fostered the idea of community policing in Havertide Grace. Many people know police officers by name. They see them, it's officer friendly. As Carolyn was suggesting, with the school resource officer program, I mean, that's a whole generation of kids that are growing up feeling a connection and a bond with those individuals. And, hopefully that's something that they'll carry into adulthood. I know for a fact that our chief does not mess around with any negativity in her police force. She has taken personnel action that, I think is commendable for someone in that situation. Folks bring up all the time what the reason behind like so many cops stopping at one time, for one incident. I mean, you'll see like 3 or 4 cars sometimes. And I think that that's part of what Havertide Grace is doing right as well, is that, there's safety in numbers for one, and for two, there's accountability in numbers. And I think that just our tactical awareness, the way that the police operate in our city is for the best. I think that, it fosters a good sense of community with them and with the citizens that they serve. So I'm sure that I'm out of time.
Tammy?
Chief Walters has created an amazing sense of presence in all of our activities and events that take place. Citizens are well aware of who her force is in the community. There's several police officers that are always available and always willing to help us, irregardless of what the situation is. This is a very safe community. I feel that the demographics here are not taken for granted. I believe that the police officers here truly want to serve our citizens. And I think that going forward, knowing that Chief Walters is encouraging us as citizens to develop stronger watch parties to help encourage one another to look out for each other, I think that's a positive move for us as citizens to help be actively involved and to engage our police officers into our communities. So thank you to our Havre de Grace Police Force, and I look forward to seeing what's to come in the future.
I learned through Department of Corrections and then again through the Army that the culture of an agency or a department is direct reflection upon the leader. And as everyone has kind of alluded to, Chief Walters is definitely a transformative leader within that police department, and that filters down into the department that she runs. It also demonstrates, from my observation, a great vetting and interview process that goes into the hand selection of the officers. I've never met someone on our local police department that appeared to treat it as just a job. I mean, they see policing as a profession and as a calling. And as such, they treat it as professionals, and they treat it with the respect and reverence that it deserves. And that, I believe, translates into why the Havre de Grace Police Department does run as smoothly, as efficiently, and problem-free as it does. And I believe that will continue through Chief Walters' tenure, and then the next chief, I'm sure, will be vetted equally as well and pick up right where she left off at. The future of the policing in Havre de Grace is definitely bright. Thank you.
The next question is for council candidates, both current and prospective, but not for the mayor. I have a separate question here for the mayor as a follow-up. And this pertains to schools, as some of you have mentioned. What are your thoughts on the recent announcement from the Board of Education on school redistricting? And we're going to start with Dave Martin and continue our rotation.
Dave, unmute.
Yeah.
Dave, you're still muted.
Yeah, there you go. When we talk about the schools, one of the things that we're looking at is the school board made an announcement. It's just that it's a study they started. It hasn't been gone through at any time. So we're looking to see, and we can't do a knee-jerk reaction. The answer is we will do whatever we can to make sure that our students stay in Havre de Grace. We're following the Hartford County School Board's process. The voices are the biggest thing. The voices of concern raised by our parents and the PTSA and other members that need to reach out to people like Ms. Sandra Karwacki, the Board of Education, Curtis Beulah, our county council representative, Pat Vincenti, the county council president, and even Barry Glassman. As I said, at this time, no decision has been reached on the proposal, and the school board will continue to hold public meetings. The school board will not address the issue of the middle and senior high school until June, and a final decision won't be reached until September. We just need citizens to constantly remind them that we are watching.
Yeah, I want to keep Havre de Grace kids in Havre de Grace. I mean, it's just as simple as that. I think myself and Councilmember Jimmy Ringsacker are the only council folks that are most impacted by this because our kids go to the elementary schools here in Havre de Grace. As Dave was alluding to, we'll work with our county partners, County Council President Pat Vincenti, County Council Representative for our district, Curtis Beulah, and our County Board of Ed rep, Ms. Karwacki. It's really their decision. It's interesting to me, this timeline. It does seem like kind of a sudden jerk because, now you're talking about next winter making a decision on something that honestly should have been looked at 16 years ago when development first started here. This county has seen roughly double the population growth in the last 30 years. So you can't tell me that this is suddenly becoming an issue. This is something that should have been foreseen. It's something that this development's been happening on the 9540 corridor for some time. So this isn't new, and it is frustrating. I hear you, I feel you. You know, people bought their homes in Havre de Grace, had their homes built in Havre de Grace specifically to have their kids go to Havre de Grace schools. And I would be pretty upset too if you know, I weren't already here myself. But you know, if you just came here and that's something that you're concerned about. So we're with you, we hear you, and yeah, it ain't over.
Yes, the Hartford County School District has made a decision in respect to possible redistricting. It hasn't happened. It's just being talked about at this time. And yes, it has our citizens, especially the elementary school, very concerned. The best thing to do right now is to be active, be involved, and speak to our county representatives, attend board meetings, and, you know, do combine with your fellow teachers and, you know, your community, and be a voice, but be patient and know that the decision will come, and we will support our community to keep all of our children in the Havre de Grace schools. That's why we moved to this community. That's why we built our homes. And that's why we want to stay together. We have the new school building. The elementary schools could possibly take on more space. Me as an educator, I definitely understand the importance of classroom sizes, but I would much rather have my students from my community in my classrooms. And I would absolutely support 100% keeping our students in our Havre de Grace schools. So please just stay informed and be involved. Thank you.
This is certainly one of the hottest topics in my neighborhood at this moment, with a lot of young families with young children. It's unfortunate this does kind of shed some light on a lack of vision, years that actually predate just about all of us. But we have to play the hand that we're dealt right now and realize that there is a problem, that it is going to have to be corrected. But as has been echoed by some of the other respondents, we have to remember that what's being presented to us right now is just a preliminary thought. This was the first thing off the plate by a group of people that are on the other side of the country and really haven't got any firsthand knowledge of anything. I would urge everyone to stay engaged. I think that's been pretty clear what everyone has said. And also try to be part of the solution rather than just a loud voice. I've been formulating with some of my neighbors a couple of kind of out of the box thinking type ideas that we may be able to pitch at the school board moving forward. But I just want to circle back around and keep in mind, this is just a preliminary plan. Nothing is written in stone yet. And it's going to change 50 times before it becomes anything real. But stay engaged, make sure that they know you're watching, make sure that you ask the questions and apply the pressure. That's exactly what you should be doing right now, and what it appears that people are doing right now. And if elected, I will be in your corner and doing whatever I can to make sure that your voices are heard and support you in any way that I can, me and the rest of the council, I'm sure. Thank you.
Well, there's not too much more to add to this discussion in terms of our engagement and what we hope for our students in Havre de Grace. I do want to point out a little bit about 2 recent meetings, and I think we all learned something. Different people learn different things. I, for one, learned that the school buses do not go over railroad tracks with children in them. So in my community, that really shuts off access to Route 40, because I'm in the Boy Rock area. near Scenic Manor. So, and Buoy Rock's bifurcated and the school buses can't get through the underpass for the railroad. So the school buses are really going to have to go around to get up to Route 40. So I think these consulting companies that have never been here physically to see our boundaries maybe need to take another look at that. I also read survey results, and I had some questions about that, which I put forward last week during one of the meetings, but it wasn't answered. I didn't really expect it to be because it was kind of esoteric, and really the parents had much more emotional kinds of questions that they wanted answered. And I think the other big thing is because they're not addressing the middle schools and the high schools at this time, parents are afraid that their children, after all the hard work that we did in Havre Grace to get those new schools, that maybe their children won't get to go there. And I think if we could get some kind of response and assurances on that, and maybe some of the resistance to go to another school will not be as difficult, but there's no promises, and everyone needs to stay engaged. There's a survey out there now, and I know I'm probably a little bit over time, but there's a survey out there now that's specific for area, and it's going to close tomorrow night at 11:59. And I did send a message out about that survey, and I hope that all the parents who are able can go on and take that survey.
Mayor Bill, this question is for you. Maybe fairly straightforward, but the writer asks, with the demolition of the Havre Grace High School, will the city be opening North Adams Street?
Thank you, Dr. Jaffe. That was actually a question submitted by a citizen at a council meeting about a month or two ago. We actually looked into it, and we're having a hard time finding any kind of recordation of if that's a street or not. You assume it's North Adams, but actually there's no evidence that it actually ever was or should be on paper North Adams. So we're still looking into it. If it can be, we would open it up. Absolutely. And so that citizen that sent in that question, that was a good question. I just want to let you know that we have a member of the planning commission and the city attorney looking into it. We're just trying to find some kind of recordation. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you. The next question is for all candidates, and we'll be starting with Jason. And this is a water sewer question, but a little bit of a different one. Havre Grace has many elderly people on fixed incomes in the community. Should they receive any break on their water sewer bill? And do you know what percentages are 70 years old or older?
I'm sorry, I lost internet connection there, Dr. Jaffe. Would you mind reading that one more time, please?
Not at all. Havre Grace has many elderly people on fixed incomes in the community. Should they receive any break on their water sewer bill? And do you know what percentages are 70 years old or older?
I'm not sure of the demographic breakdown for, as far as age is concerned. I would say, if the city can work with individuals that are having a hard time meeting those obligations, then absolutely we should. As far as I know, that's already being done. In terms of reducing water and sewer rates, moving forward, and that would really apply to everybody. I think that the best course of action, the best thing that we can hope for is that the water deal with Aberdeen goes through accordingly, and we're able to sell more product, which will reduce our operating costs. That increases our revenues. Hopefully with this new infrastructure, we're able to see some cost savings there as well. But specifically for folks that are on fixed income, I think that the best case for them is to call the city directly and make a plan.
Our population of elderly people in our community is at about 20% and growing as people are moving into the age of retirement. Being on a fixed income, it allows for individuals to set aside essential funds for necessities such as water bills, et cetera. Bill pay assistance I know is available through the city, which could help a person pay a smaller monthly fee rather than having to save for a large quarterly fee. So ultimately, the goal would be to lower water and sewer rates for all of our Havre de Grace citizens and make it equitable for everyone. Thank you.
I'm going to echo Jason in that I do not know what the demographic breakdown is. I'm going to assume that Tammy was correct. But I also know that with the proliferation of new buildings, at least popping up around me here in Scenic Manor, they're primarily young families. So I would imagine that demographic may be pushed down percentage-wise slightly. Speaking to the reduced water rates, I'm not sure that a reduced rate based exclusively on age would be the right way to approach it. Because honestly, not all people over 70 are on a fixed income. That being said, things that can be done to push the rates down for everyone would affect the seniors as well as everyone else. I think that would probably be more the focus than an age-based reduction in rates. Thank you.
Well, I'm of the opinion if there are individuals who are on fixed income who cannot afford the water rates, and they should contact the city and explain what their circumstances are. But I am in favor of eventually with selling water to Aberdeen and as Jason said, selling more product, that eventually we can drive down some of those costs, which was the idea, that the more water that we produce, because we don't have to desalinate it, and the more water we can sell, then we have this opportunity to reduce rates for everyone. And that would be the preferred method that I would see. Thank you.
Good question. The way our water and sewer rate fees are currently structured, it's every user pays. It's based on everyone paying same price. So my theory has always been, how about we just lower rates for everybody? And that's what we've been working on. When this administration took over in 2015, we had a 70-year-old water treatment plant. We had a 100-year-old aging infrastructure that we made great gains on. And we did that together as a community with the referendums on the bond bills that we passed. We made great strides. We got the pipeline going down to Aberdeen. We're going to start selling water. We're hitting our connections every year. This is the second year in a row. I just introduced my budget last night. We're not raising water rates again. Our goal is to start lowering the water rates, put downward pressure on them. So again, I just want to say though, and when we pass, our water rates, I know it hits the people on fixed income the hardest, but I just want to say if anybody's struggling with a water bill, especially during times of COVID, Hartford Community Services in Hartford County can provide assistance if you can prove that you're having a hard time paying your bill. A lot of people took advantage of that during COVID. So again, Community Service Hartford County can help people out that are struggling with their water bills.
I'm going to echo Mayor Martin's comments. The Havre de Grace Finance Department will work with anybody to help offset the cost. With the $11.7 million federal money coming in, one of the things we talk about is putting downward pressure. Well, by bringing in these capital projects, not using the money that we had to borrow, we will be able to help start driving down the rates for people. So that's the goal. It's actually to do it. This year, the Water and Sewer Fund 9 was actually scheduled to be in black, so we wouldn't be hitting from the Fund 1. We lost a $1.6 million grant that we thought we had. It was changed to a loan. The city did not take it. So by 2023, the end of fiscal year 2023, you should actually see a leveling out and the Water and Sewer Fund actually being able to be balanced and actually in the black. So that again will help drive down the rates.
Thank you. This next question is for council candidates only, and we're going to be starting with Tammy. So Carolyn, after you are done, instead of Mayor Bill, Dave Martin, you're going to pick up immediately after Carolyn Zinner's comment. So the question is this. In October, the Baltimore City Council voted in favor of a new comprehensive regulation on pesticides. The bill restricts the use of chlorpyrifos, neonicotinoids, and glyphosate, which is the main ingredient in the popular weed killer Roundup in Baltimore City. Montgomery County has had similar regulations in effect since 2019, and Howard County recently passed similar legislation. These three pesticides have been found to threaten public health, pollinators, and aquatic life. Considering how much farming there is in Harford County, and that the conventional farms are using glyphosate or Roundup, I worry, this reader says, about our water supply. A local ban for our parks and lawns would be a positive move. Do you think Havre de Grace should curb glyphosate use for public landscaping? Would you support legislation to that effect? And again, we begin with Tammy.
As we are very close to the water, the bay, I think we have that 100-foot Chesapeake Bay critical area. I think it would be important to have some type of pesticide regulations in that area. Up the hill, I'm not sure that it would be needed in the farming community, but I definitely would have a conversation about how we can control our pesticide use. And I would be willing to look into legislation to help, make sure that our water is safe and that our playgrounds and everything that is within that critical area, very safe, pesticide-free wise. Thank you.
This is an easy one for me. Yes, the pesticide in question has plenty of other products that do a very similar or almost the same job that are a lot less harmful. If you add that to our proximity to the river and all of the smaller tributary bodies of water that feed into that river, it's not a question of if, it's a question of how much of that stuff when it goes into the ground is going to end up into the river. And we're not just polluting ourselves, we're polluting everybody. It's also going into the groundwater. It's going into your tomato plant out in your backyard. It's going into everywhere. If it was the only thing that did what it does, I'd be a little bit more hesitant, but there are way too many other products out there that are not as dangerous and are not now known carcinogens to continue using that on a large scale, particularly for a city such as ours.
Go ahead, Carolyn.
Oh, the same question? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I know you were asking the two non-incumbents first, so I didn't realize. Okay. I agree with Rich. Roundup has been identified as a carcinogen for years. They've been paying out for lymphomas and all sorts of cancers, and it's just a bad pesticide, and running downstream is a problem. I mean, we live up on the hill here, and if it's used in the Mount Felix area for whatever weed control, then when it rains hard, it's going to come down the hill and it's going to roll into the bay. So I really think another non-carcinogenic product should be used.
The issue starts in the city, but it is far, far greater than the city and the city's water supply. Our biggest issue is a federal and state requirements. Both New York and Pennsylvania continue to use that. That comes down through the Susquehanna River, and it comes into. So this is more of a federal EPA requirement. It's more of the state of Maryland getting involved and actually entering lawsuits against the states that are upstream from us and polluting our water. We have to improve our water quality, but we can do as much as we want at the city level. Most of our water is coming down the Susquehanna River, and that is Pennsylvania and New York. So it is a state and federal issue that should definitely be addressed.
Yes.
Thank you, Jason. The next question is for Mayor Bill. So Bill, if you're really jonesing to get in on that one, you can fold that into this. The question for you is, how would you rate the city on our environmental goals?
Thank you, Dr. Jaffe. That's a question I love to have because, environmental impact. Well, first of all, we're stewards of Chesapeake Bay. I'm a big believer in all initiatives that are environmental. I mean, I've said it before, when I became mayor, we didn't have one public recycling bin in any of our public areas. It's just, if you're going to take this future seriously as a human being, you got to be able to take care of the environment. And ours has an emphasis because of our access to the Chesapeake Bay. Now, I would say the inroads we made to begin with, we have an amazing Habitat Grace Green Team that has helped the city achieve Maryland Sustainable Certification, which is a credit-based merit system. It's very estimable among cities throughout the state of Maryland. Not everybody gets one. Our green team has established community gardens. We have a food forest. On our end, our city buildings and public utilities are from solar power, from a solar grid in Perryman. We just worked really hard for the last 4 years to allow low-speed electric trolley on the road. We could have had a gas trolley, but we wanted an electric trolley. We also, we move our employees around in some electric cars. It's everything we do, we try to leave the least amount of carbon footprint as possible. But again, we promote it, we live it, and we walk the walk. So our green initiatives are very important to the city of Habitat Grace. So we're going to continue doing it, and bigger and better things to come. We're going to lead by example, Dr. Jaffe.
Thank you, Mayor Bill. Next question is also for all council candidates, but not for the mayor, who gets another question after this. And we will be starting with Rich, and again, cycling around. So Dave Martin, you just follow Carolyn. With the recent General Assembly session ending, as a legislator, what do you feel will be our city's greatest challenge?
Well, I guess the easy one would be to try to find ways to make ourselves better. I would say our biggest challenge will be to deal with our water line, our coastline. There's a good plan in place for that. I think there's always room for improvement. That's really the only thing that comes to front of mind on that.
Okay, I would say unfunded mandates. We've talked about this. It was one of the issues which the mayor decided that we would get the budget a little bit later because we didn't know what they are or would be. And it sounds like that we're not going to be as impacted as much as we thought we would be. But unfunded mandates are a huge problem for any municipality because legislators may not have municipal experience, and as a result, they don't quite get the impact of what that means to a city on a fixed budget. And the budget has to be balanced, and we need to be able to support them if they come through. But fortunately, or I hope fortunately, this year it will not be as big an issue as we were concerned with just a couple months ago, when some of this legislation was going through and we weren't sure what was going to be enacted and what was not going to be enacted and what kind of amendments would be acted on.
The biggest issue I see is going to be from bills like House Bill 607, where we had to fight down in Annapolis to keep our school resource officers, the unfunded mandates for cameras, and how do we go about storage, redaction, processing it to the state's attorney's office, the loss of the LEBOR for police officers, the fundings for the immunity that they've lost, so that lawsuits can be implemented against a police officer in the performance of their duties, no matter whether they were right or wrong. Anyone can enter a lawsuit saying, I was mentally scarred by this issue. So we've got to, and there's no insurance that a police officer can get. So it looks like it could be a huge financial impact on the police department and the cities, because we do in fact have our own police department. So some of the changes enacted by the law enforcement changes.
Yeah, I'm gonna, piggyback off of what Councilwoman Zinner and Councilmember Martin have said. The unfunded mandates are an unfortunate circumstance of, as Carolyn put it, legislatures that have little to no municipal experience. I think too that oftentimes legislatures look at something that might be affecting one area of the state and don't fully realize the impact that their actions could have on another part of the state. So like case in point, the SRO issue, if you have a problem with the state funding SROs, it's one thing, but if the issue is SROs in your own community or in your own county, then that's a local issue. That should really stay as a local issue. Havre de Grace has been funding SROs since like 2012. And when the state funding came along, we gladly accepted it. But that would be a huge burden to the city to suddenly have to fund the SRO program again or lose it. And as Councilmember Martin was alluding to, the qualified immunity issue, insurance rates, if you can even find someone to cover your department and your officers, would be sky high. So I don't think that there's a lot of thought on the consequences of some of these actions as much as there are the winds trying to push forth the change in Annapolis. So yeah, I would say to everybody, stay up on events at your state, stay up on your legislature's doings, comings and goings.
I agree with Jason. Stay up on the legislation. Yes, a lot of change has come down our way from the state level to our municipality. With the opportunity for us receiving funding, we have a chance to navigate through the changes. I think our biggest challenge will be on how to handle the growth that we're experiencing as a city, and just making sure that we can keep our cities safe and focus on what we need to continue to grow our community in a safe and positive manner, and make sure that we go forward following the legislation as it pertains to our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Bill, this one is directed to you. You've mentioned the trolley a couple of times. The concern, this writer states, let me start again in the middle. The city approved the purchase of a trolley, and the State Highway Administration finally approved using it on state routes. 155, and I quote, is a hot mess, along with the other main arteries in town. Since the Havre de Grace Police Department looks to the State Highway Administration for enforcement, then what are the plans to keep riders and locals safe?
The Havre de Grace Police Department does not look to the State Highway Administration for enforcement. We do that ourselves. But the trolley won't be anywhere near 155. The trolley route will be designated downtown. It'll do a loop starting at the Yacht Basin, circle by the Lighthouse, down to the Hutchins Park, the historic downtown, David Craig Park to the Lock House, and back down the route on Union Avenue. It'll try to pass all the collectors, all the parking lot areas. One of the reasons why the trolley is going to pass the parking lot areas is to encourage people to park at the park and ride, or at the Lock House, or at the Yacht Basin, or at the new parking lot where the old high school was. Try to alleviate some of the parking in our residential areas. The trolley will be running from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I agree, sometimes 155 down Superior Street can be a little jammed up, but trolley won't be anywhere near a place where there'll be any kind of danger. The trolley will always be on 25-mile-an-hour or less speed limit roads. The trolley will also have a built-in side railing on the left-hand side, so no one can get out in the traffic. They can only get out onto the sidewalk. There's a lot of safety features, including seatbelts on the trolley. So I understand the question is a great concern. I mean, it's a good question to ask. This has been thought through the T. So we're hoping it's going to be successful. And again, this is going to be, it's going to lead the way, because there's not a city in Maryland that actually has an all electric trolley system yet, but there will be after we do it.
Thank you. I hope a lot of people will be tuning in and watching. That's helpful clarification. Next question is for non-incumbents. So sitting council members, what is your vision for an enforceable rental code? Sorry, we'll start with Carolyn and then Dave and then Jason.
Did you say non-incumbents or incumbents?
You guys. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I got it totally backwards. You guys are, Jason, you're off the hook, as are Carolyn and Dave. This is for the non-incumbents, which would be Rich and Tammy. My apologies. And we will start with Tammy. So the question is this: what is your vision for an enforceable rental code?
My vision is to ensure with rentals that the owners are making sure they take care of the property both inside and out, that not only are they beautiful, but they're structurally sound and safe for their renters, and that the prices are fair for what Havre de Grace has to offer. I think there needs to be definitely a connection between tenant and the owner. And if there's ever an issue that arises, they can be, settle a dispute. I think through contacting City Hall, there is an application for that. So making sure that if there are any issues going on presently, we can be aware of them so that we can develop some type of system to help both the renter as well as the owner. Thank you.
Yeah, if I'm understanding this this question, I don't know if it's as much about the charging of the rent, because that is really up to the landlord and the tenant. But as far as the maintenance of the property, for rental units, because oftentimes renters don't really care for the property that they're renting. And when you get situations where the tenant could be in another state, could be on the other side of the country, and a lot of times the city can have a heck of a time enforcing when things are out of compliance. The development of a rental code in which there is some sort of, perhaps bond or something else that is being held by the city that would force the hand of offsite landlords to maintain properties and act on deficiencies in a short period of time, I believe answers the heart of this question. Thank you.
Thank you both. The next question is for all council candidates, and we will start this time with Carolyn and then Dave, and rolling through. And this is a development question. What elements of the Havre de Grace Comprehensive Plan do you agree with, and what elements would you try to change? Should the plan be updated? It was last updated in 2010.
The plan, yes, that's correct. The plan was last updated in 2010, and there's a process going on today that will update the plan for the next 10 years. So Diane Clare is working on that, and I know there's some work going on through the economic development as well. I think where I would go is, well, one area that I think bears some, with the new developments that will be coming online, we're pretty much landlocked, but we do have some new developments. I've always been interested in how the land is used for those developments. So I believe that a home could be an adjunct to a beautiful space. So in other words, that these new developments, somebody comes along and they take a look at the way the lay of the land, and keep it keep it as pristine as possible while still being able to make a profit and still being able to build homes. With berms, trees, maybe the use of natural rocks. We have plenty of them here at Bully Rock. Every time there's a new development coming in, we have rocks all over the place, boulders. And I think using those, reusing those things would be a nice adjunct to any new development. And that's really all the comment I can make on it at this time.
Okay, when we talk about the comprehensive plan, excuse me, it is under review. The things that we're looking at are active transportation land use in the comprehensive plan. The city is adding more biking and walkability to the city. We're looking at improving that. Street and road designs to adopt a complete streets policy, so they're working on that. Every time we repave a street, we're improving the sidewalks. So that's part of the comprehensive plan. We're repainting crosswalks to make it more accessible for pedestrian traffic. Development tools to create a safe environment for residents to also be physically active. We look at the things that the city's already done and continues to do going forward. The Tidings Park, the ADA accessible playground and the pickleball courts, Canine Cody Park, Veterans Parks, where we brought in equipment for disabled people that they could do little loops and work as well. Again, the walking trails, we have the Promenade, Lafayette Trail, North Park Trail, and the McElhaney Youth Playground. Open space, we have Gene Roberts Park, David Craig, Concord Point, Hutchins, and Todd Field. We're doing the things in the comprehensive plan to create healthy food access, and that includes the farmers market, the community garden, urban farming, the edible tree gardens are there. So we are slowly but surely working on improving. Diane Clare is working it up. This information that I just went with some of the stuff that I have shared with her, and it is being incorporated into the new comprehensive plan.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Councilmember Martin said. The comprehensive plan has been in planning for a couple of years now with economic development, specifically EDAB. We did get to have a little bit of input on that. I think it was maybe 2 years ago now. There's while Bridget was still here. And, I look forward to seeing the entire plan come together. I know that one of the areas that we touched on in EDAB was the gateways and beautifying the gateways. A lot of that work has already been done by a committee. Thank you very much, Julie Runke. But I think that there's still some work that we could do there. Also leveraging our now waning municipal water access, I think is going to be crucial in the future development of this city. I think a lot of the development that you want to see going on in a city the size of ours has already transpired, and if not already, it is currently, or it's planned. So I think we're moving in the right direction. I have no doubt that when the comprehensive plan is finalized, that it's going to meet all of our expectations. I think that those two areas, water access and gateways, are the two areas that I would most be concerned with.
Thank you, Dave Martin, Jason Robertson, for giving a lot of in-depth information about our comprehensive plan. Learning about it and knowing how our city is under development in up the hill towards the Bully Rock area, as well as the developments down in our historic area. It is great to see that our city is building beautiful homes and walkways and actually, parkways, et cetera, to continue to beautify our city and keep it historically beautiful, as well as modern to house new families as they move in. I look forward to seeing how the comprehensive plan unfolds further. And I would definitely like to see us be able to have outdoor recreation accessibility for both the downtown area as well as up the hill, so that everyone's having an opportunity to both enjoy the beauty of their homes as well as outdoors. Thank you.
I think one of the keys to keep our eye on as this comprehensive plan continues to develop is smart growth, and to not let it get ahead of itself in development. There's a reason that people move to Havre de Grace. There's a reason I moved to Havre de Grace. And it's the atmosphere, it's the neighborhoods, it's the quaintness, it's the anywhere you look, there's always a little bit of open space. Even if you go downtown, you don't have to look more than a couple of feet to see a park or to see some sort of recreational amenity. The same is up here by where I live at on the Bully Rock side. When we first moved up there, it's farms all around us. It's not going to last forever. It's eventually going to be developed. But once that development starts, you don't want to turn it into something that makes people regret that they moved here to begin with. There are people moved out of places to come to Havre de Grace. Don't turn here into there. There are ways to do that. I believe that this comprehensive plan will do that. What I've heard over the course of the development, it's aimed towards maintaining a certain amount of open space and a more aesthetically pleasing introduction to the new buildings into the existing area and making it kind of blend in with the surrounding neighborhoods and areas. I think as long as we keep that in the front of our brain, we're going to be fine. I heard my bell.
Thank you all. I should say at this point that we collectively are doing great on time. Thank you for some of the shorter answers, which have allowed us to ask more questions. We're going to have 3 more questions here and then a wrap-up opportunity. In the interest of time, we are going to run a little over the standard 2 hours that I always promise that I'm going to keep this to. And I think that that's an indulgence worth taking. We're on Zoom. If people want to turn it off, they can turn it off. But this is important information, and I'm glad that we have the opportunity to all share. That said, when it comes to closing statements, think about what you haven't said that you may have wanted to say, subjects that you may have wanted to cover, and perhaps use the time for that. And again, try to keep it without going too long, so we don't keep this going on too much more than 2 hours. So the first question that I'm going to ask at this point, again, is for everybody. And Mayor Bill, we're starting with you and then going to the top of the order. Consider this a lightning round, if you will. The question is this: if you only had one job as a city council person or a mayor, I suppose, for the citizens of Havre de Grace, what would that one job be? In other words, what is a legislator's number one responsibility to the voters? What is your job that no one else can do for the citizens? No laundry lists, just one job, this writer asks.
Some people say, can you hear me? Oh. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Some people would say, collect the trash, zoning law, stuff like that. Number one job from the mayor's office is to protect the city and its citizens to those that want to take advantage of it.
Dave Martin.
Quality of life.
Fiscal responsibility.
To serve as an advocate for the voice of the citizens.
Honor my fiduciary commitment, because Jason stole mine.
Serve with integrity and be transparent.
Excellent. That was a great round. I think that was my favorite part of this whole forum so far. Thank you, candidates, and very enlightening. The next question is also for everybody, and we're starting back with Dave Martin. And this is a question about safety. Citizens have turned to social media to vent their grievances regarding the reckless driving and excessive speeding on our streets. What do you propose to make our streets safer?
The first issue, we do have a street and traffic safety committee, but the problem is people have turned to social media. They haven't addressed it to the mayor. They haven't addressed it to the chief of police. They haven't addressed it to the chief of staff. We can't react to things on social media. We have to have the complaint. So the biggest issue is, please, you have a complaint, come forward, reach out to the mayor, reach out to the chief of police. We can, and the council, we can address your issues, but we don't always pay attention to social media.
Jason.
Yeah, I agree. There is a formal process if you want your voice and your concerns to be heard most directly. Contact City Hall. It's 939-1800. I think everyone has Google. Anyone that's on social media certainly does. But that said, I mean, we're all on social media. We see that chatter. And, honestly, I think strategically placing officers, I hate to use the term speed trap, but, to monitor folks driving in town as they already do up 155 periodically, I think that would be a good move. That might be something that I would recommend to the mayor.
First and foremost, as citizens, it is our right and responsibility to report any illegal actions that are taking place. We always think someone else is going to do that. Talking on social media is a form of, not using our responsibility and rights as a citizen to reach out to the officers and to our elected city officials for help. So please, yes, we love our social media, but please be proactive and make sure that you contact the authorities, get involved, get on a committee that will put speed bumps or a crosswalk or a stop sign. Be proactive and help. And, leave social media for getting involved with events and celebrating life, and find a way to get involved with your community as an active citizen for problems that arise. Thank you.
I'm going to echo a couple other people with saying don't use Facebook or other social media as your method of turning in a legitimate complaint, because you're kind of flipping a coin then whether it's actually going to reach the right ears. I would say, though, as far as traffic calming, one of the main tactics that other policing agencies use is police presence. I know Jason mentioned a speed trap. It doesn't necessarily have to be a ticketing mechanism, but just parking a police car a lot of times is enough to make people slow down. They see it coming up, and you don't have to leave it there. I mean, you do it every once in a while. People get used to seeing it there once in a while. They don't know if there's an officer in it, if they're running a radar trap, if they just don't know. And that element of unknown makes people self-police. And that is one of the greatest traffic control mechanisms, that they even use that as far as interstate highways. Thanks.
One of the things that personally I find effective for me is those solar speed monitors. Because if I'm coming down a hill or on a street and I see I'm doing 31 and the speed limit is 25, I really begin to slow down pretty quickly. I also agree with what everyone else said in terms of if you see a lot of speeding going on, to call it in. And I like the idea of the police car. My brother was a policeman, and he recently retired, but I can remember going near his house, and it was an auxiliary station. I don't know, maybe manned by like 2 officers, but they always had, I think the car didn't even run, sitting in the parking lot. And that always slowed people down because you didn't know whether it was friend or foe, so to speak. So, I think that these are mechanisms. And I will say that I wish we had done something like that with the solar monitors to monitor people's speed here in Bully Rock instead of the speed bumps that we have here.
Well, David, I hate to say this, but I mean, in my experience, I think people that post on social media real issues, I think they're looking more for attention than they are looking for solutions. Because this building's been here forever. Every brick in this building exists for one reason: to serve the citizens of Havre de Grace. 939 1800. Call the police department. If you don't feel they're responding, call the mayor's office. We'll respond. But on another note, I want to ask people something. How many times have you driven down St. John Street, past Coakley's, past the water plant, towards McGregor's? Look down at your speed, look down at your speedometer. How fast you're going? I bet you're doing 10, 15 miles an hour. Because if you were to do 25 miles an hour, you would look really fast on that road, even though the speed limit's 25 miles an hour. And the point I'm trying to make is I work with my chief very closely with this, because when a citizen complains, I say, can you please put an officer and run radar in this area? Because she knows how I want the police in the community rather on the larger roads running radar. But I've learned in 6 years, the chief is right. You can put an officer on an intersection on Union Avenue all day long. It's the perception of a narrow road with parked cars that makes a car doing 25 miles an hour look fast. And maybe they're doing 30, but I'm not saying people aren't drag racing. I know on Sundays on Commerce Street and stuff, you get out of town, people going fast, may not be a police officer, but we're very aware of the speeding. We're on it. It's just sometimes it's more perception than it is reality. But please call City Hall if you have a complaint. We are here to serve you.
Thank you all. This question is for everybody as well, and we're going to start with Jason. Who do you feel has been most affected in Havre de Grace as a result of COVID? We've heard a lot about businesses. How about the unemployed, the homeless, the underemployed, minorities? What are or would be your plans for improving everyone's life?
That's it's one of those questions you kind of need a moment to digest. So I'm sure that my compatriots here will probably have a better answer than I do. But I mean, we have done the best that we can in getting the wording out for resources available through the county, through the state, through the federal government. The city itself doesn't offer any resources for anything particular. I know that in my personal life, as a member of the Legion, we've had our food pantry on the porch now for the entire time of this pandemic, and that's actually been one of the most utilized things that we've done. And it's come to the point where it gets filled and emptied daily. And I think that volunteer organizations in our community, St. John's, with their soup kitchen, that's probably the route that's really been taken to help folks that are affected directly with their income. I just, as a city government, without an aid package or, without our own health department or anything along those lines that could really do anything that the federal, state, and even the county government could do, I can't say that anything comes to mind directly. I mean, we can advocate. We can get the information out there, and we can support our volunteer organizations in every way that we can.
With COVID, it's affected us all, one way or the other, whether it be financially, emotionally, physically. We have all had to look at ourselves and look at the community and stick together. I think that what we have done to help others with food shortages through the food pantries, et cetera, has been wonderful. And that's something that we did pre-COVID. And I think it's something that we should continue to do. And I encourage citizens to reach out to neighbors that may not have that sense of connectedness to go to the places in our community that will help. I know that our businesses have helped supply food at a discount rate to encourage families to be able to go out to eat or to attend an event free of charge so that we could enjoy the quality of life. So going forward with this pandemic, as we're coming out, I encourage people to be sensitive to other people's unfortunate situations with job loss, and financial struggles, help each other out. Be citizens, be neighbors, and don't be afraid to ask for help, because we all are affected in one way or the other. And I just want us all to be encouraged to be a community and stick together.
Yeah, I guess to try to pick somebody who did best through COVID, I would have to just award that to the entire community. I mean, the community of Haverty Grace has done very well through this, relatively speaking. I've lived in a lot of places. I've never seen a community come together to try to lift each other up and help each other out. I mean, people were going out of their way to, to support their local small businesses and to do what they could do to help other people out, even sometimes at a personal cost to themselves. The community spirit and what makes Haverty Grace really got an opportunity to shine during COVID. And it's something that I personally am extremely proud of, because as a newcomer, this is what I wanted. This is why I chose here. As far as the disadvantaged areas, echoing kind of what Jason said, there's only so much with the resources that the city has at its disposal that they can do. But we can do, as both a government and as community citizens, is to make sure that those people are aware of the resources, help them get the resources if possible. Sometimes the reason that they're in the situation that they're in may be because they're not aware that there's something out there that could be helping them. Take the time, be a good neighbor, be a good council member, be a good whatever, and reach out to those people and do what Haverty Grace residents do, help each other.
Yeah, I would really like to thank the citizens of Haverty Grace, because what they did with the mask mandate, I mean, they really showed respect for all of us. And because when you wear your mask, you protect somebody else. And when they wear their masks, they protect you. And as a former medical technologist and microbiologist, I believe the science. The group that really, I believe, has been hurt the most, and this is really on a national level, not something that we can fix, are women, and primarily women in lower income groups. Because if they lost their job, they lose any momentum they had in achieving maybe a career move up or places on the career ladder. It may take them years to recover that financially, especially if they're single parents or single women. They will be forever penalized with Social Security by having less as years go by, because they will not have paid as much into Social Security as other people may have. So I think that's really something that we have to consider when we look at the challenges in our schools when children go back to school. What was their home life like during that time? I like to think of things in a holistic manner, and I really worry about the mental health of families and not knowing. No one knows what goes on behind closed doors. So what sacrifices were made and what difficulties people faced, we'll never know. But just be kind to everybody and continue to wear your mask and follow all the guidelines that we've been given for as quick a turnaround as can be expected.
Well, when it comes to, who was most affected the hardest by COVID, everybody gave really good answers, but just an observation of mine, that my friends who are more, the elderly population, the folks who are, up there in age, a few years older than me, maybe 70 or older, but I just noticed over the last year, because when it all started, this was real time. I mean, we were learning as the CDC was learning. Even though we all were impacted by it, children, parents, adults in their 30s and 40s, we all kind of felt in the back of our mind, well, maybe if we got it, we might be okay. We might survive. But I noticed that a lot of my friends who are more elderly, more senior, were very scared throughout the county. Well, I know friends of mine who are in their 70s and 80s, they never left the house. they didn't visit their grandkids. Their grandkids couldn't come over to see them. And I know that they got hit the hardest because they were scared because they felt they might have been in that most vulnerable age group. And so one of the things we did in Havre de Grace was, we never shut down the parks. We just told people, the only thing we did was shut down the playgrounds because of kids, because of hands and face, but we wanted adults to be able to go out on a sunny day. We made the promenade one direction, encourage people. We kept the pickleball courts open. You're 20 feet from another person, but we believe that you had to get out. You had to at least breathe the sun, see the sunshine, breathe the air. Moving forward, even though we are still, in a grip of COVID, but, slowly emerging from it with vaccines, moving forward, the events that we do have planned, we have Defenders Day coming up May 1st, and we have First Fridays. They'll have a COVID plan that we submitted in Hartford County. We're going to do everything we can, to keep hand sanitation stations, things like this. So we just want to encourage that group that's most vulnerable to say, hey, listen, even if you have a vaccine or don't, we're going to try and make things safe for you to slowly get out. So that's how we feel in City of Havre de Grace. We're coming out of this.
I want to say the most important people were all the Havre de Grace employees who were qualified or identified as essential employees and came to work every day, putting themselves at risk. They were there. They didn't hesitate. They came out. Erica Quisenberry, when we talk about the payroll and unemployment, she worked hard. In round one, the payroll protection program, we had 181 businesses with under $149,000 of income, 10 in the 150 to 350, 12 in the 350 to 1 million. And for round two, she's working with people right now. I don't have her breakdown yet. She is working with 233 businesses in Havre de Grace. Thirdly, the citizens of Havre de Grace who have come out and donated more to the American Legion, the Havre de Grace United Methodist Church, St. John's Church, to help fund and supply, and then all the people that checked on their neighbors.
Thank you, everyone. The next question, the second to the last, is just for the new candidates, for Tammy, who will go first, and then Rich. And there are actually two questions. I'm going to give you both of them, and you can answer one or both. How would you help promote cultural diversity and encourage peace and mutual respect in Havre de Grace? And another question that came in is, how would you improve the lack of diversity on city boards and commissions?
I will promote cultural diversity and encourage peace by providing opportunities for people within our Havre de Grace demographics to attend events and to be educated about opportunities to get involved with serving our community. I believe that volunteering can bring people together and create an appreciation for our diversity. And the second question, how do we get people to be more involved, having more diversity in our community in respect to leadership, etc.? Get involved. If it's on your heart and you want to serve our community, the door is open for everyone. Thank you.
I believe that promotion and encouragement are almost the same question in this instance. No one is discouraged from participating, regardless of race, age, gender, whatever diversity issue happens to be part of it. But it's also important to keep in mind that we can't force people to do things. So what we can do as city officials is to make sure that everyone is aware, make sure the word gets out. Don't let it stop short of the farthest boundaries of Havre de Grace. How do you do that? I'm not entirely sure what the delivery mechanism would look like, but the only way we can really promote and encourage participation from every member of Havre de Grace is to make sure that every member of Havre de Grace is equally aware and has an equal opportunity to participate if they choose to. That was the bell.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody. There's one more question, which is really a kickoff into a closing statement. So I'm going to ask you to kind of consider that question, and I'm going to ask it in a minute. And then you'll have an opportunity to make a closing statement. But before I do, I just have to say, I say this every year when we do this, but this forum and hearing, just hearing our elected officials and our candidates, everybody on the dais here, is so inspiring to me. This is what Havre de Grace is really about. This is what the United States is about. This is what democracy is about. I really, from the bottom of my heart, thank all of you who are here, who are running. Personally, I would be delighted with any of the faces I see on my Zoom screen here representing me in the city of Havre de Grace. And now I'm going to get emotional and choked up, but you'll forgive me. Really, I thank you all for your service, for your dedication. And whatever happens in this election, we've got a great town, and I'm really optimistic about our future together. I'd like to thank my wife, Brenda, for being the timekeeper here, for being my logistics coordinator, so that all of these kinds of things run smoothly, particularly this year with this Zoom format. I'd like to thank Jeff Thompson from the city, who's running the AV right now and is going to make sure that this gets onto Hartford Cable Network and on the city website. Adam is involved in that too. Risa Laird in the city was very helpful. Thank you all for helping to make this happen. And of course, thank you, candidates, for sticking by and large to the time constraints that we impose on you. It's not easy to do this on Zoom, and I think you all did a great job. So with that, I'm going to lead us into our next and last question, which is also your closing statement opportunity. You'll have up to 3 minutes if you need it. And we are going to start, goodness, I lost my place. I believe we're starting with Richard here. Somebody can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong in my cycle. The question is this: what specifically makes you stand out amongst the other incumbents and candidates? Take this question and please share with us what you wish.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of roll this into my my closing statement because I went long with my opening statement. I think I have a proven track record of financial accountability. I'm familiar with public finance, particularly in procurement and policy. I have an analytical mind, and I'm always looking downrange, looking at long-term goals and looking for sustainability. And I think that my relative newness to the area brings a fresh perspective, which is going to be good on some things and bad on others. But I think that fresh blood is always useful, and a new way of looking at things can be very beneficial when you're breaking down complex problems. I didn't get a chance to cover that my term with the Economic Development Advisory Board during my opening. I cut off before that. That has given me a great deal of insight of how the growth factor through small business and enticement of small business is really the backbone upon which Havre de Grace is built upon. I also want to reach out and say that I want to wrap all of Havre de Grace into my zone, probably the wrong word. I do think that there are some underserved areas of Havre de Grace where perhaps outreach does not happen quite as strongly as it should. And I want to make sure that anyone who's listening right now that may be in one of those areas that don't feel like they have a voice, I'm going to be out there. I'm going to be in your neighborhoods. I'm going to be asking you questions. You're going to get tired of me, but I'm also going to listen to you, and I'm going to bring it back. And I want to be that representative. I think I'll yield the rest of my time back because I did go long at the beginning. But that's me, Rich Weiner. I'm one of your candidates. I would appreciate your support and your vote. I will be pouring beer at Defenders Day if anybody wants to stop by and follow up on any of these questions or any that did not get asked. I would be more than happy to chat with you.
I think it's my turn now. Okay. All right. So what makes me stand out? Well, when I went into this, I would say the least experienced individual with government, not having any government background. So I felt it was really incumbent on me to learn as much as I could. I feel that I've built some strong relationships with the directors of the departments, going in, asking them questions, being interested in what they're doing. I also feel that I work well with people. I have good critical thinking skills. But one of the things I thought about when I chose to run again was the opportunities that were given to me to learn more, to go to the Hartford Leadership Academy, to go to the Maryland Municipal League Conference, to also be able to take the courses for the Academy of Local Governance and actually finish those requirements in December of 2020. So I want to continue to use that knowledge that I've learned to be a better council person, to serve my community with integrity. I believe I listen, I'm honest, and I'm transparent. So they're the things that I see. I'm also really positive, and that's what's going to positive about Havre de Grace, I should say. And that's how I want to lead into my closing statement. A former councilwoman sent me a question and answer email string. She had asked some residents what they thought the city needed. And it was interesting. And to contrast that, we can see that it took 5 years. Sometimes it's baby steps, sometimes it's quicker than that. But all those things that were mentioned back then were accomplished. One was the theater. Well, we don't have a traditional movie theater, but we have the Opera House and we have the State Theater, which brings a lot of entertainment and arts to the city. More parking. We're working on more parking. The trolleys will help with that. And where the school's been taken down, and that becomes a parking lot. More interesting businesses. Too many antique shops and bars. Well, now we have a lot of other businesses. We have restaurants, we have art stores, we have coffee shops, we have gift shops, we have a yoga business, a soap business, a spa, hairdressers, a tea room. We have Joe Retro. So we have many things that are different, that are not what this individual thought was we didn't have enough of. Vacant and empty, unkept businesses. That's been pretty much resolved. We don't even have a vacancy downtown anymore in terms of business. We've had a population growth since 2010 that's up 50%. So we have many things to be proud of. So with that, I want to thank you, Dr. Jaffe and Brenda, for keeping us on track and providing these substantive questions. And I personally believe we heard from 5 very fine candidates who want to serve on our council, but you can only choose 3. I want to be one of those 3 to continue building on some of our most notable recent accomplishments. And I want to remind people of how many accomplishments we've achieved in the past 3 years. We have the water agreement with Aberdeen. We have the new library. We have the middle school and high school. We have an improved housing market. We have small business growth, expansion, and retention. We have expansion of our arts and entertainment district. We have varied and inclusive attractions and festivals for indoor and outdoor entertainment. We have recognition of historic preservation areas serving as an economic engine. We have major improvements to our parks and shoreline, more green space and recycling initiative, an ISO rated hose company, Department of Public Work enhancements to our water treatment facilities and roads, a living shoreline which will extend more than 2,500 linear feet, and more to come. I believe this city is firing on all cylinders, and I want to continue to be part of the team that maintains and improves our standing as one of the best small towns in America. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you on May 4th. And on a positive note.
First of all, I just want to say thank you again, Dr. Jaffe and Brenda. I mean, it's been a great evening, and you're 100% right, David. You know, the men and women on this panel really does choke you up and just make you feel like the hands of Havre de Grace are in good, the future's in good hands here. 3 excellent incumbents, 3 excellent citizens of Havre de Grace. The citizens have a tough choice. It's a win-win for everybody, no matter what happens on May 4th. So, to wrap up 6 years, 13 years as public service in 3 minutes is tough. So maybe I'll get a little more philosophical on than throw in a bunch of facts. But, I was elected in 2008, served 7 years on council, 6 as mayor. I've helped lead this team through an economic recession, helped lead the city through, more of an economic, turnaround, helped lead the city through a global pandemic. When I raised my hand and took an oath to serve the city in May of 2019, for beginning my 3rd term, I never would imagine ever what this past year could have been like. I don't think anybody could. It's been hard. It's been hard on everybody. My wife always jokes I got a lot more gray hairs in the last year than I've had. But that's the thing about being the mayor, is you never know what the challenges are going to be day to day. The people in the city are good people. They're darn good people, and they inspire me. I mean, the Susquehanna Hose Company just received an ISO rating of 1. Out of the 40,000 fire companies in this country, they are one of 380. That's impressive. And so it's stories like that when you hold this office and you sit in the seat and you look out your window every day, at Pennington Avenue and at the kids playing in the tennis courts, you're like, what can I do today to make Havre de Grace a better place for our families and our kids? And those are the questions that are always guiding us. So again, I could sit here for 3 minutes and just tell you that we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, but I'm just going to tell you, the next 3 years are going to be the most important 3 years the city has ever seen. And I don't mean that flippant. I mean, that's serious. Not only do we have about another, we total $15 million bond bill for the water and sewer. We've expended about 9.5, but we got about another 11.7 coming from the feds. And all this needs to be spent in a certain amount of time. We got told December 2024 to spend it. We got to move quick. We got a lot of things we need to do. And how we spend that money and how we allocate it to better this city and to set this city up for the future will define us for future generations. I know it for a fact. So it's important times for everybody to pay attention to what's going on in your community. And I'll tell you what, I've never been more honored to have the opportunity to serve my fellow citizens. Everyone inspires me every day. Hopefully you know me by now. I humbly just say to you, I always try to do my best and make my best educated judgment on every call. I hope I've done more better decisions for you than I've done decisions you didn't approve of. And I'll continue to do that. You're going to get my integrity and my honesty and my transparency every single day. And when you walk in that voting booth on May 4th, you have 5 tough choices for council, and you'll have 1 box that says Bill Martin for mayor. And I would really, really humbly ask you to check off that box and say, Bill, just keep fighting for us. Thank you again, Dr. Jaffe, and thanks all the council candidates. And I've enjoyed myself this evening. Thank you very much, citizens.
First off, I want to thank OPAC, Dr. Jaffe and his wife, Brenda, for sponsoring this event. A special thank you to all the candidates for their dedication to Havre de Grace and providing choices for the citizens. Yes, why me? In addition to my councilmatic district, I was selected to be a member of the Maryland Municipal League Legislative Committee, and I'm currently on the board of directors in the Maryland Municipal League as a vice president. I represent the municipality of Havre de Grace, as well as all the municipalities in Hartford and Cecil County. I am a voice down in the legislature in Annapolis every year. I have been down there for the last 6 years, and if I'm reelected, I will apply for that position, and I will continue to go down to Annapolis and fight for the citizens of Havre de Grace, as well as Hartford and Cecil County. I believe my record speaks for itself. I plan to continue focusing on fiscal responsibility, long-term solutions, not short-term Band-Aid fixes. As I said before, I continue to follow the mantra of Walt Disney: think, believe, dream, and dare. I want to think what's best in the interest of the citizens of Havre de Grace. I believe we can accomplish what is the best interest of the citizens of Havre de Grace. I dream of what Havre de Grace will become. And I dare to take a chance and make our dreams become reality based on our beliefs in ourselves and our values. I want to thank everyone that thinks of our future, believes we can make a difference, dreams of an improved quality of life, and finally dares to follow their dreams. Thank you for your past and anticipated continued support. Remember to vote for David Martin on Tuesday, May 4th. For additional information about me, you can go to davidalanmartin.com and read more about me. Thank you very much. Please come out and vote, no matter what your choice.
Hey, folks, it seems I'm having some connection issues, so I'm going to try and make this brief. So you asked what sets me apart. Well, a few things. Number one, I mean, my career is government budgeting and government finance. So, I think that my experience there, and then as well as my experience on the council, really, keep me in a good position to be effective in town. I'll tell you this, the learning curve for a councilman is very steep. I mean, it's very high grade, and it takes a long time to really understand processes and really develop relationships. And I think I've fit into that groove. I think I can be an even more effective council person than I've already been. And I want to carry that forward and continue serving. One of the reasons I want to continue serving in this term is because, I really want to do something impactful for young families, for the kids, and really want to see this youth commission that we started 2 years ago, develop even more beyond what it has. We kind of had to take a year off because of COVID, and that kind of put the kibosh on a lot of our plans. So I'm really hoping to get our internships together and our events together, and foster a sense of community and belonging in our young folks, and get them engaged civically in Havre de Grace. I think that that's important. I think maybe my perspective compared to some of the other candidates is a little bit different, just because of where I am in life right now. Sometimes that hurts because I don't have as much time as some of my counterparts would, to be at a middle of the day DPW meeting or something. But I have gone out of my way and spent a lot of leave, much to my detriment, to be involved as much as I have. So I think, as everyone said, the results, interpret them what you will. As Ronald Reagan put it, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? I think all of the metrics and all of the personal feelings would probably indicate yes. I'm a very civic-minded and volunteer-oriented person. I love serving. I love serving the community. I love serving my country, as I said in the beginning. And it just seems that I always find a way to do that. So this has been my great pleasure. It's been my great honor to serve the citizens of Havre de Grace in this role. I'm just really hoping for another 2 years to do this. Again, it is a lot of sacrifice, but I'm fully prepared to carry out this duty one more time. So I hope that you'll pick me among those three council folks on May 4th. May the 4th be with you. And if you'd like to know more about me and maybe read up a little bit, jasongrobertson.com. Again, jasongrobertson.com, or visit me on Facebook at Jason G. Robertson, or just give me a call or shoot an email or whatever if you want to get together and chat. I'm always looking to have a beer or a coffee with somebody. So anyway, I hope you all have a good evening. Thank you very much, Dr. Jaffe and Miss Brenda and OPAC, for yet another year's worth of very informative forum. So thank you.
Having lived in many states across the nation, I bring a multifaceted perspective to how local municipalities operate. My experience as an educator, involvement with community projects, and dedication to nonprofit organizations has given me the opportunity to interact with a diversity of individuals. Such experience has given me a fresh lens towards getting actively involved with our community and the desire to serve our citizens at the civic level. This is what makes me shine bright as a candidate for Havre de Grace City Council. Tonight, you have heard many responses from your local candidates. I, Tammy Lynn Shenagus, have shared my perspective as to why I decided to run for City Council. I have demonstrated to you the care and concern that I have for our citizens, and the love I share for our vibrant city, and the insights I have toward making a positive impact at the civic level. My goal as your elected City Council member will be to always listen to our citizens. I will ensure that all voices are represented and take them into account when making important decisions that affect all of our lives. I will be your advocate for the safety for all citizens. I will provide support of community education, outdoor recreation, and the cultural arts, and I will actively pursue the sustainability of our past and present accomplishments while working towards the future of Havre de Grace. I, Tammy Lynn Shenagus, am asking for you to trust me with your vote on May 4th, 2021. I thank you, Dr. Jaffe, Brenda Jaffe, Jeff Thompson, Mayor Martin, and my fellow candidates for listening, as well as our citizens at home. I look forward to seeing you at City Hall.
So one more thank you I'd like to add, and that is to our fellow citizens who wrote in questions this year. We did have more questions and more varied and substantive questions than I can recall in recent fora. And so thank you for those. I think this has been a great forum all around. And I would encourage those of you who are watching live now or are watching at some subsequent time to tell your neighbors, tell your friends that they can see this forum on the Havre de Grace City website or on the Havre de Grace YouTube channel, or they can watch it on TV on Hartford Cable Network on April 28th at 8 p.m. And again, don't forget to vote, of course, on May 4th. And that's it. Thank you, everybody. Next year, we will be live somewhere, and what a pleasure that will be. Everybody have a good night.
Thank you, Dr. I thank you, Brenda. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Jeff. Thank